In the chaos of the Second World War, tales of valour from the Army, Navy and Marines dominate the pages of history. Yet, among the countless acts of courage, one branch remains quietly overlooked: the United States Coast Guard. These men, often seen as humble lifesavers or lighthouse keepers, became unexpected warriors in some of the war's most dangerous operations. Their bravery was not confined to coastlines. They crossed oceans, stormed beaches, captured enemies, and protected convoys under fire. Theirs is a story long overdue for recognition. It begins on September 27, 1942. Petty Officer Douglas Munro, commanding a small flotilla of landing craft near Guadalcanal's Point Cruz, faced an impossible situation. Nearly 500 Marines were about to be overrun. Without hesitation, Munro ordered his boats to the shore to extract the trapped men, then turned his craft broadside, deliberately placing himself between the Japanese machine guns and his fellow Americans. His boat became a shield of steel and courage. Munro was fatally shot during the evacuation, but his actions saved hundreds. He would become the only Coast Guardsman to receive the Medal of Honor, a symbol of a branch that gave everything without asking for glory. While Munro's sacrifice really embodies Coast Guard heroism, their impact actually stretched far beyond just one battlefield. Months before America officially entered the war, the Coast Guard made history by becoming the first United States military branch to capture enemies during the Second World War. On September 13, 1941, 3 months before Pearl Harbor, Lieutenant Leroy McCluskey led 12 Coast Guardsmen in a daring nighttime raid on Greenland's icy coast. Their target was a remote shack suspected of harbouring German operatives. McCluskey kicked in the door and found 3 men who claimed to be hunters. Their story quickly fell apart when one of them tried to burn documents that, as it turned out, were secret German radio codes. Those so-called hunters were actually enemy agents. They, along with their equipment and codebooks, became America's first wartime prisoners, caught not by soldiers or Marines, but by the United States Coast Guard. This rather strange Arctic mission was part of a secret effort to keep Greenland neutral after Nazi Germany occupied Denmark. The Coast Guard patrolled the frigid waters, intercepting suspicious vessels like the SS Busko, a Norwegian ship working under German direction to establish a weather and radio outpost. Once war officially broke out, the Coast Guard took on one of the most demanding roles of the conflict amphibious warfare. While the Marines and Army earned fame for storming beaches, it was often Coast Guardsmen who piloted the landing craft that carried them ashore. From North Africa to Normandy, from Sicily to Okinawa, these small craft operators navigated enemy fire, treacherous tides, and chaos to deliver troops, evacuate the wounded, and even shoot down enemy aircraft. Their skill came from years of patrolling America's coasts. No one knew nearshore navigation better. When the invasion of Normandy began, many of the small craft delivering United States troops were commanded by Coast Guard crews. Their contribution went beyond the front lines. The Coast Guard inspected nearly every troop ship leaving United States ports, ensuring lifeboats, firefighting gear and safety equipment were in working order. A detail that quietly saved lives during countless convoys and amphibious operations. Though technically under the Navy's command during the war, the Coast Guard maintained its own identity, blending military precision with humanitarian instinct. They were warriors who never forgot they were lifesavers. Perhaps no image captures their spirit better than one of the most famous photographs of D-Day, Into the Jaws of Death. The haunting shot, showing soldiers stepping off a landing craft into machine gun fire, was taken not by a Navy photographer, but by Chief Photographer's mate, Robert F. Sargent of the United States Coast Guard. His image froze a moment of pure courage. Men walking willingly into hell for the sake of freedom. The photo, taken from a Coast Guard Higgins boat, became an icon of the invasion and has inspired films and documentaries ever since. Another Coast Guardsman, gunner's mate Frank DeVita, made 15 trips to Omaha Beach that morning, ferrying troops and pulling the wounded from the blood-red surf. His recollections decades later are chilling. "I dropped the ramp, and the machine guns opened up. The Coast Guard's small boats, their ramps slick with seawater and blood, became the thin line between life and death for thousands. Yet not all Coast Guard heroism came from grand invasions. In the early years of the war, German U-boats prowled the American coastline, sinking merchant ships within sight of beachgoers. With the Navy stretched thin, the Coast Guard created an improvised defence force, the Coastal Picket Force, better known by its colourful nickname, the Hooligan's Navy. This ragtag fleet of armed civilian sailboats and motor yachts patrolled the east coast, searching for submarines and even dropping depth charges when needed. Their unconventional tactics worked. The U-boats began to avoid United States shores. One encounter in 1942 may have even destroyed a submarine after a picket ship dropped explosives on an oil-slicked patch of sea. These volunteers, many of them untrained civilians turned wartime sailors, proved that courage isn't limited to uniforms or rank. On the home front, the Coast Guard's vigilance saved the country from invasion. In June 1942, a lone, unarmed Coast Guardsman stumbled upon German saboteurs burying explosives on Long Island. Pretending to accept their bribe, he reported them immediately, leading to their capture and foiling a planned campaign of terror. The incident sparked a new initiative, using trained dogs to patrol U.S. shores. Within months, the Coast Guard had over 3,000 canine partners guarding beaches, docks and bases. These dogs, often donated by American families, were trained to detect intruders, locate explosives and even fight on command. But not every wartime dog was a fighter. Some became beloved mascots, none more famous than Chief K-9 Sinbad of the Coast Guard cutter Campbell. Found as a stray on Staten Island, Sinbad was smuggled aboard ship and soon won the crew's hearts. He earned his own service number, medals, and a legendary reputation as a beer-loving sailor. When his commanding officer presented him with a campaign ribbon in 1945, he called Sinbad a builder of morale, a valiant shipmate, and a symbol of loyalty and affection. From Greenland's frozen tundra to Normandy's blood-stained shores, from hunting U-boats to rescuing shipwrecked sailors, the Coast Guard's role in World War II was immense. They were the smallest branch, yet their impact was vast, fighting, rescuing, documenting and protecting with quiet unyielding bravery. Their motto, Semper Paratus, always ready, wasn't just a slogan. It was a promise kept in every storm, every battle, and every sacrifice.